Hello everyone. Have you ever opened your own front door, expecting nothing unusual, only to find a note from your parents that shattered everything you believed about your life? That's exactly what happened to me. A single sheet of paper on the dining table. 5 words that didn't make sense. Stay out of sight, freak. I thought it was a mistake, until a lawyer knocked on my door that same night, holding a briefcase with my name on it. And what he told me made me question who I really was. I never imagined that an ordinary Tuesday would become the beginning of the biggest secret of my life. Before we dive in, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to support more powerful stories like this. And I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your hometown in the comments below, so I can see how far this story travels around the world. I remember the smell first. Not the words. Not the silence. The smell. The house smelled wrong. When I pushed the door open that evening, I expected the usual. My mom's vanilla candles, my dad's strong coffee lingering in the air. But instead there was nothing. No warmth. No noise from the TV. No soft hum of life. Just silence. "Mom!" called out. No answer. "Dad!" Still nothing. First I wasn't worried. They sometimes went out without telling me. I was 22. Old enough not to need constant updates. But as I stepped further inside, I noticed something strange. The living room was spotless. Too spotless. The throw pillows were aligned perfectly. The family photos that usually leaned slightly to the left were straightened with unnatural precision. Even the rug had been adjusted so its corners matched the edges of the room like it was staged for a photo shoot. And then I saw it. A single piece of paper on the dining table. My name was written on it. Just my name. I froze. The way it was written, sharp, rushed, almost desperate, made my stomach tighten. I walked slowly toward the table, every step heavier than the last. I picked up the note. 5 words. Stay out of sight, freak. That was it. No explanation. No love, Mom and Dad. No signature. Just that. My hand started shaking. Freak. Were they talking to me? Was this some kind of joke? My parents had never called me that. They were protective, sometimes overly so, but never cruel. I read the note again. And again. The handwriting was my mother's. I was sure of it. The slight curl in the S. The way she pressed too hard on the pen when writing capital letters. But she would never write this. Never. I pulled out my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I tried my dad. The same. That's when I noticed something else. The hallway closet was open. My father's coats were gone. My mother's shoes, her favorite red heels, missing from the rack. Their bedroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly. The closet was half empty. Drawers pulled out. Suitcases gone. They didn't just step out. They left. Left without telling me. Left without saying goodbye. Left a note calling me a freak. My chest felt tight, like the walls of the house were closing in on me. I tried to remember the last conversation we had. It was normal. Completely normal. My mom asked if I'd be home for dinner. My dad reminded me to lock the door before bed. Nothing strange. Nothing dramatic. So why did it feel like they had been planning this for a long time? I walked back to the dining table and stared at the note again. The words seemed to grow darker each time I looked at them. Stay out of sight. Why? From who? And free? The word echoed in my mind, pulling at memories I'd tried to ignore. The stares from neighbors when I was a kid. The whispers at school. The way my parents would quickly pull me inside whenever arguments broke out in the street. The way they never let me see my birth certificate. The way they avoided talking about our extended family. Suddenly, all the small, strange moments of my life started lining up like pieces of a puzzle I never knew existed. I wasn't just confused. I was terrified. And then, knock. 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 3 firm, deliberate knocks on the front door. My heart nearly stopped. No one ever knocked like that. Not friends. Not neighbors. This was official. Slowly, I walked toward the door. My hand hovered over the handle, trembling. Another knock. "Mr. Carter?" A deep voice called from the other side. "My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm your parents' attorney." Attorney? My parents didn't have an attorney. At least, not that I knew of. I opened the door. Standing there was a tall man in a gray suit, holding a black briefcase. His expression was calm. Too calm. He looked at me carefully like he was studying my face. Then he said something that made the ground feel unstable beneath my feet. They told me this day would come. And in that moment I knew. The note wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The note wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Those words echoed in my head as I stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the man who claimed to be my parents' attorney. The porch light flickered above him, casting shadows across his face. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look surprised. He looked prepared. For what? I finally managed to ask. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. For this, he said calmly, lifting the black briefcase slightly. May I come in? Every instinct told me not to trust him. But my house was no longer my house. It felt like a stage someone had set up for a performance I didn't understand. And I was already part of it. I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, scanning the room like he was confirming details from memory. His eyes paused briefly on the dining table on the note. I see they left it, he murmured. My heart thudded. You knew about that? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed the briefcase on the table and clicked it open with deliberate precision. Inside were documents, thick folders, sealed envelopes, a small metal box, and on top of everything, another envelope, with my name. This, he said carefully, is a contingency file. Your parents instructed me to deliver it to you only if they were no longer present in your life. No longer present? I repeated. They didn't move out of town. They vanished. He held my gaze. Yes. The way he said it sent a chill down my spine. Where are they? I demanded. I am not authorized to disclose their location. Location? My voice cracked. So you do know where they are. Silence. He slid the envelope toward me. Open it. My hands hesitated over the paper. Felt heavier than it should have. Like it carried something more than ink and secrets. I tore it open. Inside was a letter. Not handwritten this time. Typed. I unfolded it and read. If you are reading this, then we have done what we always knew we would have to do. You must not try to find us. You must not contact the authorities. And most importantly, you must stay out of sight. My breathing became uneven. You are not what you think you are. The room seemed to tilt. What does that mean? I whispered. The lawyer watched me closely. Keep reading. There are people who have been watching you since you were a child. We protected you the only way we knew how. By pretending everything was normal. By hiding the truth. By hiding you. My vision blurred for a second. Hiding me? From who? We never meant for you to see the word we used in the note. It was meant to make you angry. To make you disappear on your own. Because if you stay visible, they will come. They. I breathed. The lawyer finally spoke again. Your parents have spent 22 years preparing for this possibility. Preparing for what? For the moment someone realized you exist. My chest tightened. I exist. I'm standing right here. Yes, he said quietly. And that is the problem. I took a step back. You're not making any sense. He reached into the briefcase and pulled out a thick folder labeled with a date, my birthday. Inside were medical reports, newspaper clippings, photographs. I grabbed one of the photos. It was a hospital room. My mother in a bed. My father beside her. And a baby in her arms. But the date printed in the corner didn't match my birthday. It was 3 months earlier. That's not possible, I said. I was born in October. The lawyer's voice dropped lower. According to the public record, yes. The air felt thinner. You're saying that's not my real birthday? I'm saying, he replied carefully, that your birth certificate was amended. Why? He paused. Because the day you were born, something happened. My pulse pounded in my ears. What happened? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slid the small metal box toward me. This was sealed the night you were brought home, he said. Your parents told me you would eventually need to see it. My hands trembled as I opened the box. Inside was a hospital bracelet. Tiny, faded, and engraved on it was a name. Not mine. A completely different name. I stared at it, my thoughts racing. That's not me, I whispered. The lawyer exhaled slowly. It was. A wave of dizziness hit me. So who am I? I demanded. You are legally Ethan Carter, he said. But biologically, that is more complicated. The word biologically felt like a crack forming beneath my feet. I laughed nervously. This is insane. Are you trying to tell me I was adopted? No. Then what? He met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw something close to fear in his expression. You were never supposed to survive. Silence filled the room. My heart stopped. What does that mean? The hospital records state that the child born that night did not make it, he continued. There was an incident. A power failure. Equipment malfunction. Chaos. I swallowed hard. But somehow, he said, you did. The words felt unreal. So, I'm a miracle? I asked almost sarcastically. He didn't smile. No, he said quietly. You're an anomaly. And in that moment, the house that once felt empty now felt watched. Like someone somewhere had just realized I was still here. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure I was supposed to be. I wasn't sure I was supposed to be. The thought wrapped around my chest like invisible pressure, squeezing tighter with every breath. I stared at the hospital bracelet in my hand, the name that wasn't mine engraved into plastic that had once circled my wrist. An anomaly? I repeated, my voice barely steady. That's the word you're going with? The lawyer didn't flinch. It's the word used in the original report. Original report from who? He hesitated. And that hesitation scared me more than any answer could. There are agencies, he finally said, choosing each word carefully, that monitor irregularities, statistical impossibilities, events that don't align with expected outcomes. You're talking about science? I asked. Or something else? Yes. That single word hung in the air like a riddle. I began pacing. Okay, let's say there was a power failure. Let's say the hospital equipment stopped. Babies survive things all the time. That doesn't make me an anomaly. You weren't breathing for 11 minutes, he said quietly. I stopped walking. What? According to the private medical file your parents obtained, you showed no measurable signs of life for 11 minutes. That's not possible. It's documented. The room felt colder. And then? I asked slowly. And then, he continued, every monitor in the delivery wing shut down. Not flickered. Not malfunctioned. Shut down completely. Backup generators failed. Security cameras lost footage for exactly 12 minutes. 12. I whispered. Yes. I felt my pulse in my throat. And after 12 minutes? The power returned. The machines restarted. And you were crying. The words landed heavily. Crying. Alive. But the official record says the infant did not survive, he continued. That report was filed before the power came back. Why wouldn't they correct it? I demanded. They tried. I stared at him. And the correction request was denied. Denied by who? Again silence. Then he said it. By a department that does not officially exist. A chill ran down my spine. This is insane, I muttered. You expect me to believe some secret organization thinks I shouldn't exist because of a hospital glitch? It wasn't just the glitch. My head snapped toward him. What else? He reached into the folder again and pulled out something I hadn't noticed before. A photograph. Not of a hospital. Of me. I looked about 6 years old. Sitting on a swing in our backyard. But I wasn't alone. Behind the fence, barely visible, was a man in a dark coat. Watching. That was taken by your father, the lawyer said. He began documenting unusual activity when you were 5. Unusual activity like what? Cars parked outside your house at irregular hours. People pretending to walk dogs but standing still for too long. Phone calls with no one speaking. Memories surfaced like fragments of a dream. The way my mom would suddenly close the curtains in the middle of the day. The way my dad installed extra locks on every door. The way they never let me attend sleepovers. They weren't overprotective, I whispered. They were afraid, the lawyer replied. Of who? Of being noticed. The word hit differently now. Stay out of sight, I murmured, recalling the note. Yes. I swallowed. Why call me a freak? His expression softened slightly. Because if you felt rejected, you might leave on your own. Change your name. Move cities. Delete your digital footprint. So they tried to hurt me to protect me? They tried to make you invisible. I sank into a chair, my legs weak. If this department doesn't exist, I said slowly, how do you know about it? I used to work adjacent to their operations. Adjacent. I handled legal containment cases. My stomach dropped. Containment. For individuals flagged as statistical threats. I let out a shaky breath. You're telling me I'm a threat? Not intentionally, he said quickly. You've lived a normal life. You've broken no laws. But your existence contradicts a recorded outcome. That's not my fault. I know. I looked at him, desperate for something human in all of this. So what happens now? He closed the briefcase slowly. They've been dormant because you were hidden. No public anomalies. No attention. But 2 weeks ago. He stopped. What? I pressed. 2 weeks ago, your name triggered a database alert. My heart skipped. What did I do? He held my gaze. You applied for a passport. The memory hit instantly. The online form. The biometric scan. The official verification of my birth record. I just wanted to travel, I whispered. And in doing so, you reactivated a file that was supposed to remain sealed. The air felt suffocating. So they know, I said. Yes. A loud noise outside made me jump. A car door slamming somewhere down the street. Both of us turned toward the window. The lawyer stood slowly. It's possible they're already reviewing your case. Reviewing. I repeated. As in deciding whether the anomaly corrects itself. My mouth went dry. Or needs assistance. The implication hung between us without needing explanation. My chest tightened as a terrifying realization formed. This wasn't about the past. It was about what they might do next. And for the first time since reading the note, I understood why my parents ran. For the first time since reading the note, I understood why my parents ran. And that understanding terrified me more than the mystery ever had. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't confused. I was exposed. The lawyer walked toward the window slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. The street outside looked ordinary, streetlights glowing and neighbor's porch light still on. A car parked across the road. Too ordinary. Do you recognize that vehicle? He asked quietly. I stepped beside him and looked through the blinds. A dark sedan. Engine off. Lights off. But someone was inside. I could feel it. No, I whispered. It's not from the neighborhood. He nodded once like he expected that answer. They won't approach immediately, he said. They observe first. They verify patterns. Patterns of what? Behavior. Routine. Risk. My pulse was racing so loudly I could barely hear my own thoughts. So what do? We accelerate your parents' contingency plan. The words felt unreal. Like I had stepped into a story that wasn't mine. You knew this might happen tonight, I said slowly. I knew it might happen soon, he corrected. The passport application was the trigger. After that, it was only a matter of time before a field team was assigned. Field team. My stomach twisted. Assigned to do what? I asked. He didn't answer directly. Your parents believed that if they disappeared first, it would buy you time. So they sacrificed themselves? They removed the primary guardians from the file, he said. That forces the department to reassess jurisdiction. I stared at him. You talk about this like it's paperwork. In many ways, he replied calmly. It is. That calmness frustrated me. This is my life. I snapped. You're saying people who don't officially exist are deciding whether I should? His eyes met mine. And this time there was no calmness left. Yes. The word hit harder than anything else. Silence filled the room. Outside, the car door opened. My breath caught. A figure stepped out. Tall. Wearing a long coat despite the mild weather. He didn't look at the house directly. Instead, he checked his phone. Waiting. They're confirming facial recognition, the lawyer murmured. How do you know? Because you opened the front door earlier. My mind raced back to that moment. I had stood under the porch light. Fully visible. Exposed. What happens if they confirm? I asked, barely able to breathe. They escalate. And if they escalate? He turned toward me fully now. Then we disappear. The word sent a chill through my entire body. Disappear how? New identity. New city. No digital presence. No official records. That's not living, I said. It's surviving. I looked back at the figure across the street. He was still there, still calm like this was routine. How long have they been watching? I asked. The lawyer hesitated. Since your birth. The room felt smaller. Why not take me when I was a baby? I whispered. Because infants attract attention. Adults can vanish quietly. The logic was horrifyingly simple. Suddenly, headlights flashed. Another car turned onto the street. It drove slowly past my house. Too slowly. I stepped back from the window. They're multiplying, I said. Yes. My chest tightened. What if I refused to run? The lawyer studied me carefully. Then you become a case study. The words drained the last bit of courage from me. What does that mean? It means they will attempt to understand why you survived. My hands went cold. And if they can't? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. A soft vibration came from his pocket. He pulled out his phone, glanced at it, and his expression shifted for the first time. They've accessed your social media archives, he said. How do you know that? I still have a contact inside their data division. You said you used to work adjacent to them. I did. And now? He looked at me, something heavy in his eyes. Now I'm helping you. The street outside grew quieter. Too quiet. The man across the road finally looked up. Directly at the house. Directly at me. Even through the curtains I felt it. He raised his phone slightly. A flash. They've confirmed, the lawyer said. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might collapse. What do we do? I asked, my voice barely steady. He snapped the briefcase shut. We initiate phase 2. Which is? He walked toward the back of the house instead of the front door. Your parents never intended for you to use the front exit. I froze. There's another way out? I asked. He looked back at me. You think they installed extra locks for nothing? A sudden realization hit me. The basement. The room my parents always kept locked. The room they said was just storage. The room I was never allowed to enter. The lawyer moved toward the hallway. Hurry, he said. Behind us outside, another car engine started. Doors opened. Footsteps approached the front of the house. And as the first firm knock echoed through the living room, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an operation. And I was the target. It was an operation. And I was the target. The knock at the front door wasn't frantic. It wasn't aggressive. It was controlled. Measured. Like they already knew they would get inside eventually. The lawyer didn't hesitate. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me down the hallway. Basement. Now. My legs felt numb, but adrenaline pushed me forward. We reached the narrow door at the end of the corridor, the one my parents always kept locked, the one I was told never to touch. They said it was just storage, I muttered. They lied, he replied. Another knock echoed through the house. Louder this time. Mr. Carter, a voice called from outside. Come. Official. We'd like to ask you a few questions. The lawyer crouched by the basement door and pulled a small key from inside his jacket. Your mother gave me this 18 years ago, he said. 18 years. They had been planning since I was 4. The lock clicked open. We rushed down the wooden stairs, and he shut the door quietly behind us. Darkness swallowed us. He reached to the side wall and flipped a hidden switch. Soft lights flickered on, and what I saw made my breath disappear. This wasn't a basement. It was a control room. Walls covered in newspaper clippings. Maps with red markings. Screens, old but functional, connected to security cameras around the house. Filing cabinets labeled with dates. And in the center of it all, a large corkboard with my name. Photos of me from every stage of my life. School pictures. Graduation. Even candid shots taken from angles I didn't recognize. They documented everything, I whispered. They tracked the trackers, the lawyer corrected. Another knock upstairs. This one sharper. Mr. Carter, we know you're home. I stared at the screens. On one of them I could see the front porch camera. 2 individuals in dark coats. No badges. No insignia. Just confidence. They don't break doors, the the lawyer said quietly. They convince you to open them. What happens if I refuse? They escalate quietly. The word quietly was worse than anything else. I turned back to the corkboard. There were notes written in my mother's handwriting. Unmarked vehicle, 3:17 a.m. Unknown call, 12 seconds silence. Neighbor replaced, new tenant, no history. My stomach twisted. They replaced neighbors? It's one of their methods, he said. Insert observers into proximity. My childhood memories began shifting. The family that moved in when I was 7. The man who always waved but never spoke. The girl in high school who transferred in mid-semester and asked too many personal questions. They weren't random, I whispered. No, he said. They were monitoring behavioral deviation. Upstairs I heard a faint sound. The front door handle being tested. My heart pounded violently. They're trying it, I said. They won't force entry without clearance. Clearance from who? He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to one of the filing cabinets and opened it. Inside were sealed envelopes labeled, "If contact is made." He handed one to me. My name written across it in my father's handwriting. My chest tightened as I opened it. Inside was a letter. Ethan, if you're reading this, then they've moved from observation to approach. That means the timeline shortened. It means we were right. My vision blurred. You are not a mistake. You are not a glitch. You are proof. Proof of what? The night you were born, the monitors didn't fail randomly. Your heart stopped. That is true. But what the official report never included was what happened before the power returned. My hands trembled. Every clock in the delivery wing stopped at the same second. I looked up at the lawyer. He nodded slowly. 4:12 minutes. There was no recorded time. No recorded time. When the clocks resumed, you were alive. A wave of dizziness hit me. Time didn't move? I whispered. That's what the internal anomaly memo suggests, the lawyer said. That's impossible. Yes. Upstairs, a louder sound. Wood creaking. They're inside. I breathed. They shouldn't be, he replied sharply. But the front door camera flickered on one of the screens. The door was open. The two individuals had entered. No force. Just access. How? I whispered. The lawyer's jaw tightened. They received authorization. Footsteps echoed above us. Calm. Controlled. Slow. They weren't searching frantically. They knew exactly where to look. They'll scan for thermal signatures, he said quickly. We have limited time. What are they going to do to me? I asked. He didn't sugarcoat it. They will attempt to determine whether your survival altered anything beyond biology. Altered what? Probability. The word hit like thunder. I stared at him. You're saying my existence changed something? We don't know. Footsteps stopped directly above us. Silence. My breathing felt too loud. A faint mechanical hum echoed from upstairs. They've deployed a sensor, he whispered. I felt panic rising. Is there another exit? I asked urgently. He looked toward the far wall. There is. I followed his gaze. Behind a large metal shelf. Hidden. Your parents built a tunnel leading 2 houses down, he said. 2 houses down. Past the replaced neighbor. They thought of everything, I said. Yes, he replied. Except one thing. What? A loud thud shook the basement door upstairs. Dust fell from the ceiling. They underestimated how fast the department adapts. Another thud. The lock upstairs cracked. The lawyer grabbed my shoulders firmly. Listen to me, he said. If we split up, they prioritize you. I become a distraction. I'm not leaving you, I said immediately. You don't have a choice. The basement door burst open above us. Heavy footsteps rushed down the stairs. And as shadows stretched across the basement floor, I realized the plan wasn't just about hiding anymore. It was about escaping something that believed I should never have lived. It was about escaping something that believed I should never have lived. The footsteps on the basement stairs were steady. Not rushed. Not chaotic. Just certain. They weren't afraid. They were confident. The lawyer moved instantly. He shoved the metal shelf aside, revealing a narrow steel door I had never seen before. Inside, he whispered urgently. Another heavy step creaked above us. I'm not leaving you, I insisted again, my voice shaking. You're not leaving me, he corrected. You're continuing the plan. The calm in his tone made everything feel worse. A beam of white light cut through the darkness as someone at the top of the stairs activated a flashlight. We know you're down there, a voice called. It wasn't angry. It wasn't threatening. It was polite. That politeness terrified me more than shouting ever could. The lawyer grabbed my shoulders again. Remember what your father wrote. You are proof. Proof of what? I demanded. Before he could answer, a small red dot appeared on the wall beside us. Scanning. They've activated environmental mapping, he muttered. My heart pounded violently. Go, he snapped. He pulled open the steel door, revealing a tight concrete tunnel barely tall enough to stand in. I hesitated for 1 second too long, and in that second the agents reached the bottom of the stairs. 2 figures in dark coats. No insignia. No visible weapons. Just tablets in their hands glowing with data. One of them looked directly at me. His expression wasn't hostile. It was analytical. Subject confirmed, he said calmly. Subject. Not Ethan. Not Mr. Carter. Subject. The lawyer stepped in front of me. You don't have clearance, he said firmly. The second agent tilted his head slightly. Clearance updated. My stomach dropped. Updated. The first agent tapped something on his device. The lights in the basement flickered. For a split second, everything went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The hum of electricity vanished. The faint traffic outside disappeared. Even my own breathing felt distant. And then, all the clocks on the wall stopped. Every digital display in the room froze at the exact same second. 12:07. My chest tightened. No, the lawyer whispered. The agents looked around briefly, confused. What did you do? One of them asked. I hadn't done anything. But something was happening. The air felt heavy, like pressure building before a storm. The red scanning dot flickered erratically. Static filled the agent's tablets. Signal disruption, the second agent muttered. My pulse thundered in my ears. And then, everything snapped back. The hum returned. The lights stabilized. The clocks resumed ticking. 12:08. Only 1 minute had passed. But the lawyer was staring at me like he had just seen a miracle. It happened again, he breathed. The agents exchanged a glance. What happened? I asked, my voice barely audible. The lawyer swallowed hard. For a moment, everything stalled. The first agent studied his device intensely. We recorded a localized temporal variance, he said slowly. Temporal variance. My mind raced. You're saying time. Time did not behave consistently, the agent finished. The room fell into stunned silence. I felt dizzy. I didn't do anything, I said quickly. The lawyer's eyes were wide. You didn't have to. The agents looked at me differently now. Not just analytical. Interested. The second agent took a cautious step forward. Subject appears to be the epicenter, he said. Epicenter. Like an earthquake. Like a fault line. The first agent's calm expression shifted slightly. This confirms the file's original assessment. My voice trembled. What assessment? He looked directly at me. That your survival event was not passive. The words hit me like thunder. Not passive. You're implying I caused it? I whispered. We are implying correlation, he corrected smoothly. The lawyer stepped closer to me. You see why they're here now, he said quietly. You're not just an anomaly. You're a variable. A variable. Something unpredictable. Something that changes outcomes. The second agent raised his tablet again. We are requesting voluntary cooperation, he said. You will not be harmed. You will be studied. Studied. Like an experiment. The tunnel behind me suddenly felt like the only oxygen left in the world. And if I refuse? I asked. The first agent's expression didn't change. Then probability suggests escalation. My chest tightened painfully. I glanced at the clocks again. 12:09. Normal. Ticking. Ordinary. But my mind replayed what just happened. Everything had paused. Just like the night I was born. 12 missing minutes. And this time, I had felt it. A strange pressure in my chest. Like something inside me had pulled the world's plug. The lawyer leaned close to my ear. You need to move now. But what if I can't control it? I whispered. Then control isn't the point. Another step forward from the agents. Final request, one of them said calmly. I felt something building again. Not fear. Not panic. Something deeper. Like gravity bending inward. The lights flickered once more. The agents froze. Literally froze. Mid-step. Mid-breath. Their tablets suspended in air. The red scanning dot halted. The clock stopped. 12:10. Silence swallowed everything. Not quiet. Absolute stillness. I could move. The lawyer could move. But everything else paused. His eyes widened in shock. You're doing this, he whispered. I don't know how, I replied, trembling. We stepped cautiously around the frozen agents. They were completely still. Like mannequins. Like the world had pressed pause. How long do we have? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. The tunnel behind me suddenly felt like destiny. This isn't just survival anymore, is it? I said. He looked at me with a mixture of fear and awe. No, he replied softly. This is power. And for the first time in my life, I realized the department might not be trying to erase me. They might be trying to control something they don't understand. They might be trying to control something they don't understand. And that something was me. The basement was frozen in impossible stillness. The agent stood motionless, eyes open but empty. Dust particles hung in the air like suspended stars. Even the faint hum of electricity had vanished again. 12:10. Every clock locked on the same second. My breathing sounded louder than thunder in the silence. I don't know how I'm doing this, I whispered. The lawyer stared at the frozen agents, his face pale. It's not about how, he said. It's about why. Why? He turned to me slowly. Your father believed your survival wasn't random. He believed you didn't just come back. You corrected something. Corrected what? An interruption. The word sent chills down my spine. You think I fixed the power outage? No, he said quietly. I think you fixed time. My chest tightened. That was impossible. But then again, so was everything else tonight. The lawyer stepped closer, lowering his voice. When you were born, something stopped. Not just machines. Not just monitors. Everything. And when it resumed, reality adjusted. Adjusted? As in changed? I asked. He nodded once. The department's internal memo suggested that for 12 minutes, there was a probability gap. A moment where outcomes were undefined. And I filled it? My voice cracked. You survived inside it. The silence pressed harder around us. What does that make me? I whispered. He held my gaze. A variable that doesn't obey expected outcomes. My heart pounded. So they're afraid of me. Yes. And they want to study me. Yes. Control me. Yes. The word echoed. Control. That's why they didn't break down doors. That's why they didn't act violently. They weren't eliminating threats. They were containing uncertainty. I looked at the frozen agents again. They weren't monsters. They were employees, following instructions, just like the lawyer once had. How long can this last? I asked. He glanced at the clocks. Last time 12 minutes. My stomach dropped. And how much time has passed? He swallowed. We don't know. Because time wasn't moving. Or maybe it was only moving for us. The tunnel behind me felt like escape. But something inside me resisted. If I ran forever, I would always be hiding. Stay out of sight. That's what the note said. My parents had tried to make me invisible. Not because they were ashamed, but because visibility meant measurement. Measurement meant control. And control meant captivity. I don't want to live in tunnels, I said quietly. The lawyer studied me carefully. Then what do you want? I looked around the frozen basement. At the paused world. At the stop clocks. And something inside me shifted. I want to decide, I said. A strange calm settled in my chest. Not fear. Not panic. Clarity. If I could pause everything, maybe I could do more than pause. I closed my eyes, focused on that same pressure I felt earlier. That gravitational pull inside my chest. I imagined the clocks. The second hand. the ticking. And instead of letting it resume naturally, I pushed. Not outward. Inward. The air vibrated faintly. The lights shimmered. The frozen agents flickered slightly, like reflections in water. The lawyer grabbed my arm. Careful. But it was too late. The world didn't snap back the way it had before. Instead, something else happened. The agents' tablets went dark. Their screens cracked with digital distortion. The red scanning dot vanished completely. And when the clocks resumed, they didn't jump to 12:11. They reset. 12 o'clock. All of them. Simultaneously. The agents blinked. Confused. They looked around the basement, disoriented. One of them checked his device. No signal, he muttered. The other frowned. The subject. He looked at me. But something in his expression had changed. Not recognition. Uncertainty. Who are you? He asked. My breath caught. The lawyer's eyes widened slowly. The agent checked his tablet again. There's no active file, he said quietly. No anomaly flag. The second agent shook his head. We must have the wrong address. They looked at each other, unsettled. And then, without another word, they turned and walked back up the stairs. Calm. Measured. Gone. The basement fell silent again. But this time, normal silent. The clocks ticked forward. 12:01. The lawyer stared at me like he was witnessing history. What did you do? He asked softly. I don't know, I whispered. But deep down, I did. I didn't just pause time. I rewrote the moment. Not the entire world. Just the decision. Just the file. Just enough. The lawyer exhaled slowly. You removed yourself from their system. Temporarily? I asked. He nodded. Most likely. The weight of that settled over me. This wasn't over. But it wasn't hopeless either. I looked at the corkboard, at the years of fear, at the red markings, at the photographs of a child who never understood why he was watched. My parents ran so I could have a choice, I said quietly. Yes. And tonight, I chose. The lawyer closed the briefcase slowly. They will eventually notice inconsistencies, he warned. Departments like that always do. Then I'll be ready, I replied. Not hiding. Not running blindly. Prepared. I climbed the basement stairs carefully. The house felt different. Not empty anymore. Not watched. Just quiet. On the dining table, the original note still lay there. Stay out of sight, freak. I picked it up gently. For the first time, I didn't feel hurt. I understood. It wasn't an insult. It was a shield. I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Because staying out of sight doesn't always mean disappearing. Sometimes, it means knowing when to step forward and when to bend the clock. Conclusion, the moral. Sometimes in life you will feel different. Out of place. Misunderstood. You might even feel like you don't belong in the version of the world people expect you to fit into. But being different is not a flaw. It is not a mistake. It is not something to hide in shame. Difference can be power. The world may try to measure you, define you, limit you. But you are not just a number in someone else's system. You are not an error. You are not an anomaly. You are proof that life doesn't always follow predictable rules. And sometimes the very thing others fear is the thing that makes you extraordinary. So if you've ever felt like you didn't fit, maybe you weren't meant to. Maybe you were meant to redefine the moment. And maybe, just maybe, your 12 missing minutes are still waiting to change everything.